Wow, I just finished The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, the second book in the Wheel of Time series, and now I understand. This is a type of book that fantasy lovers kind of need to read because, yes, I understand. It's that type of story that once you're reading it, you want to just stop reading, you want to clap, you feel so good. It's that type of story that makes you feel alive, make you love the good one, the chosen one, the quest. I loved this book beginning to end. And yes, I'm being spoiled because I've watched the TV series before and that is absolutely on me, but some things were messy, some things are different, and I really want to discuss with you what are my feelings, which were my favorite scenes, which were my favorite characters, or rather what I feel about all of these characters, what's the plot, what is the main things around this story, the magic that I am really loving it, which were the things that I believe were not done as good. I had some comments in book one and I want to review those comments with you, the ending, and I will also cover some theories about what I'm expecting to see in the next books. Although granted, I'm still not sure that I understand the full scope of what I'm reading, but well, I'll do my best. Rated the first one, I believe, with a 4, something like that, 3.5 or 4. This one, it's a solid 4.5, and there are so many things that were amazing. The story kicks off right after the book one finishes, and yes, this is going to be full spoilers. One of the main things that I was a little bit hesitant in book one was that it really seemed really similar to Lord of the Rings, and yes, this was on purpose. It was kind of an homage. I got that, but at the same time it got old real fast, and I understand the idea of that was needed in order to publish a book in that moment. But book 2 was such a movement from that Lord of the Rings vibe. I think Robert Jordan took this story and ensured that the what ifs that he had of what if we have a power one, a chosen one, and what if he rebelled against that, what if his story were to be different, if we add more layers of magic, of creatures, of society, like everything was so good, and I was really in awe about how the story really changed so fast from book 1 to book 2, how our characters also evolved and how different elements were added. I must say that this is not a 5 because for some reason I'm still not able to really deeply connect with the characters. I think this is something that probably Robert Jordan is doing on purpose. This is more of a slow burn. I know our characters, I kind of like them, but it is not that I am head over heels with them. I compare these with Sanderson and with, for example, Stormlight Archive or even Mistborn. I felt for the characters from really early on, so the stakes, when they were high, they were even higher because I would like, oh no, something is happening to Kaladin or Bean or Len or whatever. But in this case, I am more like a patient watcher that it's seeing whatever is happening, and I'm kind of feeling everything like from the distance. There were scenes such as the end that just completely threw me to the war, to the elements, and again, it's that kind of story that I was like, yes, well done. But at the same time, there were some things that were like, I feel that if I were to feel more for the characters, this could have been more impactful. But at the same time, there are 14 books, so I understand that the arc of the characters, it's going to be slower and it's going to be more profound, but we're getting there. I am seeing a lot of progress from book 1. One of the main things that I believe changed things for me is that in book 1, yes, we know that kind of Drand is the chosen one, that he is the dragon reborn, but we have Egwine who is powerful, Nynaeve, we also have Perrin, we also have Matt. Like, all of them had their different and very tough choices, and I believe all of them were kind of similar in starting that quest of learning their power, and we kind of feel that they are like at the same level of strength in a way. We know that that's not true, but I feel like the characters see themselves in that way. But in book 2, just right out of the bat, from the beginning, Rand is, aware that he has this surrounding environment that it's telling him that he's the dragon reborn, that he is super powerful, and he is rejecting that quest. And I find this so interesting. I don't believe I've read that many books where the main character that needs to undergo the quest of really fighting the evil is like, okay, yeah, cool. And this was really refreshing for me and really inspiring, because in real life, if there's something that it's not necessarily cool, because in here, like, he might go mad, he might kill his loved ones. It's not something that sounds really like, yeah, for sure, sign me in. It is only reasonable that he don't want to be the dragon reborn and that he wants to fight against everything. So I enjoyed this path, his arc of really rebelling, but at the same time, it kind of feels like destiny, fate, the will, it's calling him, right? So he is put in these different situations that he is advancing. And I loved the idea of seeing Rand advancing from a moment in which he is very terrified to a moment in which he is almost beginning to be a leader. We see him kind of turn into a lord, almost like not on purpose, but it just like, yes, let's survive, let's keep moving forward. But then he really early on starts to feel the pressure of, okay, there are other people like Urin that it's surrounding me and that they are scared, also loyal, so I need to step up. I need to know my stuff in order to be better for them. And I think that trait is what is making him a hero in my eyes. And I am really starting to enjoy Rand, which is dangerous, like dangerous. In book one, he was definitely one of my least favorite characters, and in here he is really evolving. I think his path is definitely going to be an interesting one, in the sense of not only he is the chosen one, I am feeling that his journey will be very nuanced, very gray. There are moments in which you see that he is this white, armor knight, but at the same time you feel that he hates and that he has doubts and that he can be tempted and that he feels really passionate about the power, and that it's calling him. So I don't know where this is going, and I am so excited to discover that. So all in all, this book, I think, had a more interesting premise, and it follows the same structure of book one. And I understand this will probably be a theme in all the books, in which Jordan has our characters together, then something happens and our characters start different paths, and then eventually they, merge, and there's an epic final scene. In book one, I don't believe we probably got that epic final scene. Yeah, we got an epic moment, but everything was so rushed. And in this moment, in this book, everything was like delightful, like Sanderlanche done better in a way, which it's a high stakes, and obviously Sanderlanche came after, but it felt that the last 100 pages I was like hooked to the pages. I was not able to move and I needed to keep reading. So I think all in all, the story, it's better. Also the addition of other elements to the world building with the sunshine and also the money and all of that, it made for extra layers, which this point I must say that I kind of enjoyed the fact that I've already read book one and seen seasons 1 and 2 of the TV series, because I do believe that it's honestly better to not watch the TV series until you've read, like, I believe book 3 at least, because a lot of stuff is spoiled. But I am terrible imagining stuff. My imagination is not so good. Like, when I read, I don't at the moment instantly imagine stuff. So it was really helpful to see the whole world, these whole elements of the Damane and all of that in the TV series, because I was able to feel that horror, that terrifying sensation, not only for the things that are happening to our characters, which we will get there, but also the world. So that's the only point that I'd say I've enjoyed so far about watching the TV series. But all in all, I think it's so different. I was so confused about what was happening. Like, why are things going this way. But let's talk then about the characters. In here, we've already talked briefly about Rand, and my favorite character of this book, I must say, was Egwene. In last book, she was kind of good for me. My favorite was Matt, but Egwene was getting close, but she felt a little bit flat for me, and I was not really a fan of her like coping with the situations basically by dancing and by, you know, flirting with you know, what was around. That was, and also being jealous, you know, when they were on the ways and everything was super, very challenging and terrifying. And she was like, but Rand, who was that woman? It's just like, Egwene, no, there are things that are way more important here that you need to focus. We're about to die. Like, this is an important quest. This is not the moment or time to ask for another, you know, woman. In this book, what I saw about Egwene is that she took a step forward. Like, obviously she was pushed to her limits, and I think Egwene is going to be one of those characters that just will forever be changed for what has happened. I think for me, she was the main protagonist, honestly, in this book. Like, the mental challenges that she faces, starting with she getting into, you know, Tar Valon, then going properly into the Aes Sedai, and that point of view together with Nynaeve allow us to see what's the structure, the educational system in a way, if you want to call it, about the Aes Sedai, the different rules, how they behave. And that was so interesting because it's the first time that we are really properly seeing how the Aes Sedai work. We've been seeing them from the outside, probably from Moraine's point of view, but obviously she's just one, she's really isolated, and also she is together with our boys, and we were able to see how the different people really see the Aes Sedai. Now, when we're inside the Aes Sedai structure, things are different, and we see that the lower levels are actually like really challenging, are also really complex, and that they are treated as servants, which is an interesting choice on how the Aes Sedai are already training their people to just suck it up, you know, to be really easy to obey. They are testing the characters of the young. The whole story of how Egwene starts to go there, has to learn how to do the tiny little bits of power, and how she develops this passion of really being able to channel, and how she is driven by the power. I thought that was so interesting. I also enjoyed the tiny little bits and pieces when she meets Elaine, and, you know, everything's fine. That was kind of like, yeah, you at the end of the day are kind of teenagers, but I just thought it was so interesting, the dichotomy of Egwene and Rand both passing through the same things in a way, like both are being called by different parts of the power, Saidin, Saidar, and both are really consumed by the need of channeling. But in one hand, we have Egwene who can do that, and as a result, she wants to do that all the time. It is almost becoming part of her personality, and she is a little bit afraid of, you know, burning too much magic. And in the other hand, we have Rand, who is also terrified, and channeling is a part, an inherent part of his personality, because he is so drawn to the power, but at the same time he doesn't want to channel. And it was a beautiful, in my opinion, comparison on how the same power by different people, like this forbidden side, was treated. It was so mind-blowing, and also them being kind of like very similar in their backgrounds. It felt beautiful, and it felt really well done, in my opinion, of Robert Jordan. I was amazed on how good he allowed us to see the beauty that the power can be, and also the terror and the guilt, and, you know, the drama that it can create when it is on Rand. Now, the most important part of Egwene is obviously when she gets to the whole demane drama, and we will talk about this because it's one of my favorite scenes. But what I like the most about her character here is how she really starts to be more resilient. Like, her mind just is not going to be broken, right? Like she rebels constantly, and how she is very powerful. She's breaking everything that we've known about her before, and eventually when she gets freed, we kind of see her advancement. And I want to hear if Egwene is going to be one of those characters that we've been said that she is powerful, but not as powerful as Nynaeve. But now that she has surpassed her own limits thanks to this situation, I wonder where she's going to be, like how is she going to adjust to the structure that we have back with the Aes Sedai? How are we supposed to understand Egwene? Like, will she serve at the same way? Will she obey at the same level? And how much power is she going to be able to channel now that we know that she can do more? So really loved Egwene all the way through. There are no really points that I was like, Egwene, you can do better. No, like she was phenomenal character. Really felt for her. Now let's talk about Matt, which was my favorite character in book 1, and in this book, like, my boy let me down. So he's still kind of one of my favorites, because I like that he is great, that he's nuanced, and that he is not having never a good time, but I think he did dirty to Rand, and I don't like that. So in book 1, we spent the whole journey, the whole part of Rand and Matt really being Rand a caretaker with Matt. Like, he was really worried, and really worried. He did go here and there, and it was just like, Matt, I'm going here and I'm going there, but he was worried. And in book 2, we still see Rand that it's really preoccupied because they've lost the dagger, and he wants to take it back because he wants to save Matt. But when at the moment in which Rand starts to display this personality of, I don't want my friends to be super close to me because I fear I'm going to be harmful for them, so I'm going to try to take them a little bit away so that they remain alive, but they will know that I channel. What I would expect is for their all-time live friends to be like, we support you, my boy Rand. And in here, Matt was like, oh no, you channeling, that's kind of like a bad thing. We can die, so I rather prefer to remain alive. Bye. And this kind of makes sense for Matt's character, but I was slightly disappointed, super disappointed in reality about him doing these. Don't do that. I also believe we were not able to see a lot about him in this book. Yes, we see him being consumed about the dagger as well, because the dagger is away, Pattern Fane has it, and he eventually has this great moment by the end when he is, sounding the horn, and that was like, yay, Matt, you can do more than just being a shadow or being almost dead. You can be a hero, and that was a beautiful moment for Matt. So he still remains high in my list, and I feel tortured about him. Whenever he's failing our characters, I'm like, no, Matt, don't do that. But when he is also being a hero, or when he is discovering parts of himself, I'm just so, all the feels with him. So all in all, a good character. Now, Perrin was my least favorite character in book 1, and I think in this book he was also improved. I will say that he was for me a very bland and plain character this whole book, but my main concern in book 1 is that although I really love his magic, I really love the idea of him being connected with the wolves, and the whole story with the wolves dying and Hopper and all of that in book 1, that was really touching. I, for the life of me, was not able to cope with the situation of Perrin thinking that Egwene was bullying him, that he wished that he were Rand because Rand is always so good with women, and it just, no, no, I did not like that part. But in this book, I was able to see a Perrin that felt also so mature. So maybe my concern is that I don't necessarily like teenagers, which is a terrible thing to say. But in this book, he felt more matured. He said, I believe, 1 or 2 times that he would rather prefer to be like Rand because he obviously knows more about women. But that was not the main thread, and he stepped up whenever Huron was missing, because he was in that part with Rand Rand and Loyal, and in that quest he stepped up and he was like, okay, I definitely know how to track stuff. And although he's also terrified about everyone discovering his secret, he is starting to open a little bit to the world and to his powers, and we're learning a little bit more, and I like that. But Perrin, correct. Then Nynaeve, for me, she is also a winner. I'm not super in love with her because she is a character that I feel is super different from me, and that is what it's not making instantly for me see her and be like, yay, Nynaeve. But at the same time, I like the idea of her being really powerful, of course, and being driven by anger. I think she's also a pretty interesting and nuanced character. I just don't understand a lot that we started in book 1 this almost insta love with Lan, which I am shipping hard, but then in book 2 it's just like separate again, nothing will be seen. Like, okay, we do see the trials that Nynaeve passed, and that was heartbreaking how she sees her life with Lan, and it was just like, no. And then how Lan begs her to stay with her, that was so well done. And when she comes back from the trials, she is like broken. She really is like, Aes Sedai, like your stuff, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good doing this. It's not good. As time is passing, there are less Aes Sedai, but they are not changing their ways. They are not decreasing the bar of how strict they are or what they need from their novices or their accepted. So that part was really interesting on how they can maintain that level of, we want people that it's powerful and that can do this and that, even though we are, as time passes, less people, and how they are preferring that quality, if you will it, versus the quantity, although it might be proven to be, against them at the end. But I really love also how Nynaeve's point of view allow us to see this whole structure, how she faces power, which is also very different from Egwene and Rand. She is terrified about the power, but in a different way, and she is terrified about not really being able to control it, and she wants to control it through fear and through anger. She wants to feel that power, but they're just like those fires of power, but not constant. And that's so interesting, and I think it's also going to be a theme for her to master her own emotions. I think she comes from a moment or from a place of love, of really caring from our boys and girls, and just it feels like the mother in this case, and she wants to take care of everyone, and as a result she will do whatever it takes. And I like that kind of character. I saw her being evolved, and I liked her fine. Now let's talk about Moiraine and Lan, because for me, nothing, like the big nothing in this book. Yes, we see a little bit at the beginning with Moiraine and the Amerlin seat, and also Lan has this amazing scene where he is talking to Rand about, like, this is the Heron Spade, and you can do this and that, and, unsheath it, and that was great. But then that was it. Moiraine played such an important role, in my opinion, in book 1. It was the glue somehow in putting everything together and the quest in motion. And in this book, she kind of realizes that she needs to let go, that they will eventually be all together, but that she needs to let go and she needs to take a step back. And yes, there's Verin, who is the other Aes Sedai, who is following Rand, and yes, she's there, but she's a very different type of Aes Sedai, which was interesting. So now for the secondary characters, I live for Loyal. I think he is such a cinnamon roll, and also I see myself, like, he is, as readers, he is this kind of person that is like, well, he's an ogier, but he is like, society, rather not. I would prefer to stay here and read, but at the same time I want to hear what is happening, so I will fake that I am reading so that I can, also listen what is happening. He is so very sweet. There's this scene when they are with the Ogier people where he finds this another Ogier and they gift each other flowers, and he is like, oh, she told me that I am handsome and I told her that she is beautiful, and it was so ridiculous as the scene, and I just loved it. And I hope Loial never dies. I hope he ends up all of these and he is this kind of Bilbo kind of character writing the story of our group. He cannot die. So better this not happening in following books. I also really enjoyed Hurin, I think, or Urin, I'm not sure how we say this, because he was also really naive, but he played such an important role, I believe, in ensuring that Rand leveled up and that he became a lord. And we see how he goes from really respecting Rand to really being like, oh my lord Rand, please, Lord Alfor, help me, or do this, do that. And he was just like so believing in the mission, believing in Rand, and doing things that were really, really terrifying and doing them fine. He is, the sniffer. He found out Pat and Fane, and that was a great moment. Now, what about Selene? We know from the beginning that she is not good news, right? Like, it's weird as hell. Everything is weird as hell with her. And from the beginning, it's just like, very suspicious that you are so beautiful. Everyone wants to touch you and kiss you, and but at the same time, no one thinks about how weird it is that they feel this way, or that you are in this place, which is not our world, but it's kind of like they have world hopper, but they have made like a world hop to another world, and that she is also there, and that she knows how to go back, and then she disappears, and then she's back, and that she is like, oh Rand, you are all powerful. The overall descriptions of Selene were a little bit outdated. We know at the end of the book that she is a Forsaken, right? But we don't get to see a lot of that darkness, which I understand it's on purpose, but the only thing that we're able to see is that she is good at manipulating Rand, and also that she is beautiful. But seeing that she's beautiful time and time and time again, it was a little bit tiring, and I hated her. What I like though is that compared with the TV series, they are not as engaged or having as many sexy times, which was an interesting choice. I'm not sure if this is something that will happen afterwards, and that's just that we are not there yet. And I guess the last character, and I understand that this is long, Ingtar, right? He, for the majority of the book, felt such as an annoying character. He's supposed to be this almost hero character that has this mission of retrieving the horn. And for the longest time, I just felt that he was not written in a way that was well done. I thought that, not that Jordan was lazy writing his character, but I did think, okay, there are so many characters here that Jordan cannot really write them all well. And well, I was a little bit mistaken there. I thought this because every time that Ingtar was on a page, he was like, I will get the horn, I will, I must. And legit, the same phrase was said over and over and over whenever he was on a page. But all of these eventually make sense at the end when we see his twist. Did I think that this twist was predictable? No, but sometimes yes, because if you have more faith than me in Robert Jordan, then you would have thought that this is weird behavior. I was like, weird behavior, lazy kind of writing, but no, this was because he is actually a dark friend and he is on this path of redeeming himself, which was so inspiring to also see how a dark friend can be redeemed. And it was beautiful when we see that he's like, I will die here, but it does not matter. Like, I need to do this, I need to be better, and how Rand heart gets broken into pieces. And this is the scene that I was referring to in the beginning, where I just felt that if I were more connected to the characters, this scene would have been more impacted for me. I was like, yeah, I remember clearly when I was like everything that happened in my surroundings when I was reading it. So it really anchored me, and I can have that moment, but at the same time it wasn't as impactful as, for example, the scenes of Egwine when she suddenly got this change of name and she's called Tully, I believe, and that was like rage. There was like, no, you're not changing the name to Egwene, you are not. That was like a powerful emotion. This was like, oh, I did not expect this, but so cool, well done, but not much. So let's get to those two main scenes that were my favorite. One of them was with Egwene and Nynaeve, and it's when they are finally breaking free. They are finally taking care of the Damane, when they take the leash and they take everything changes. And I think that is so fascinating, because I don't really know probably still the name, but when the ones that has the leash and they had the leash on themselves, they were terrified, and I thought they were going to understand how to feel. Like, they've been trained as the ones with like holding the leash for so long, that I thought they would understand how to behave if they were the ones that were leashed, that they were like very brainwashed in a way in which if you understand that, then you are like, yes, this is the whole society I need to understand, so therefore okay. But no, we see the horror of the two girls that are suddenly leashed, and they're like, no, please don't do this. And I was like, oh my god, you knew from the beginning, you knew. Like, they know they are powerful, they know they can channel. Because of that, it's the only reason that they can connect with the one that is in the leash, and they know that they can now be connected to the one holding the leash. And that was just so heartbreaking. It made me reflect about the horrors that we are able to go, and then just we don't think about that really, but in a profound level we know. And when things can happen to us, it's just like, no, this is terrible. And it's just like, you were behaving like this 2 seconds ago. It is true that they do feel that superiority, so just having that completely shattered and becoming the one that is leashed can have, I understand, terrible consequences, but still, like, so that was one of my favorite scenes, no question. The other one, it's when Rand, it's fighting Turak, and they are like fighting with the Huron blades. That scene was, oh my god, perfection as well. Like, we start and he's like, I will not channel. He does not want to channel because he doesn't want to. Everyone knows that he can channel, that he is the Dragon Reborn. He's still like fighting that, and at the same time he does not know really how to fight. He has learned a little bit, but not as much as Turak. But then he kind of like becomes one with the sword, and we see how Turak, it like, oh, like his eyes in my mind were like, you know, this kind of, oh, how he kills him. That's fascinating. I really liked more that part in the book, that how it was done in the TV series, which was kind of like really lazy, like done. In here was like, no, this is suffering. This is a key pivotal point for Rand, in my opinion. So this is important. How this was done was really relevant and really important. And then the last scene, obviously it's the ending, which was like, as I said, like clapping. I wasn't crying, but I see potential of crying in the following book. So keep posted about that, because I'm kind of scared. This is becoming my personality now. I'm like, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. And, you know, I say this like to my cat, or whenever things are happening, I'm like that old wise woman. And the ending was just so inspiring, so beautiful. Like that fight with Baalsamon, who has me really confused, probably because of the TV series, but in this book it feels like Baalsamon, it's the Dark One, and in the TV series we kind of know that he is not. So I'm not sure, like I'm not sure what is happening properly here, but for sure we will learn these soon. But all of that scene, how when the horn sounds and we have these different heroes, everyone is calling him Luz, and he's like, no, I'm Rand. I love that. But they are like, no, you're Luz Therin, and I know you. And he cannot deny anymore that he is a dragon reborn, and we end the book with him kind of embracing that he is indeed that dragon reborn. So I will expect to see more dragon reborn acceptance and embracing in book 3, called The Dragon Reborn. That's like one of my theories. I'm hoping this finally happens in next book. I am also hoping for Nynaeve to start displaying more nuanced and a little bit more control around her power. I am hoping for Egwine to be the big surprise and to really go back to the Aes Sedai and to change everything. I hope Leandri, she dies. We see how she betrays Egwine and Nynaeve, and I did not know that she was Black Aja, but she never appeared like a good Aes Sedai, and I was like, I hope she dies. Like page 3, I hope she dies. She's just a classic evil character, and I really hope she dies in a horrible way. I cannot understand her motivations, and even if her motivations are like the same ones that we have in the TV series, I just hope she dies in terrible pain. But yeah. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm also hoping to see more of Matt now that he feels that he can be a little bit more of a normal, healthy character, and to see more of Perrin. Like, what is all about Perrin? I know that he is one of the favorite characters of a lot of people, and for me, he's just so very meh. So I'm hoping to finally fall in love with Perrin in next book. Now, let me know if you read it. Which was your opinion about this book? Do you believe I should keep reading? Like, I will keep reading, but will I like The Dragon Reborn? I feel I will start reading it as soon as I stop filming. And if you want to join us over our Patreon, we're doing the Wheel of Time read along, and we have a live discussion every month. We will also have these discussions, you and me here, although they are not live. But this is such a journey, and I would love to have this journey with you along the way. So let me know. I hope you'd enjoy this, and let's see what book 3 has in store for us.